There were plenty of times where the whole crowd was just like,
oh yeah, just yeah. I mean, it got so much clapping.
It got us out of that.
There was a lot of clapping. There actually was a lot of
like
clapping.
The first real like fight scene with Shang-Chi, like with Shang-Chi was like, whoa! I can't believe they're doing this. Yeah, this is so awesome. Alright guys, so we just got done watching Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Some people watch it at the El Capitan. We watch it at the Man's Chinese Theater over here, which is right across the street from each other.
Not the upstairs one.
Yeah, only social media review embargo lifted, so it's one of those, you know, quick, honest reaction thoughts that we can't say anything specific, so we got to be a little bit clever with how we word everything. But we wanted to give you guys our quick reaction to the film. John, why don't you go first?
I had a blast watching this movie. I will admit I stepped in with a few expectations, or at least hopes, you know. I was really hoping to be wowed by this movie, and for the most part, I think they nailed it. I mean, they had a lot of really beautiful and varied fight scenes, a lot of different film styles going into that. Just the heritage of fight scenes on cinema is clearly inspiring this movie. I loved just the cultural flourishes. I liked a lot of the filmmaking flourishes. I thought it was paced pretty well, breathed pretty well. Had a couple gripes toward the end that are kind of standard for this kind of movie, but for the most part, and I'm reading that, for the most part, I thought they did a nice job of making this feel unique, not like just another MCU movie, and I love the cast too.
Yeah, you know, it really feels like a live-action anime. That's like one of the best ways I could describe it, with flourishes of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This gave me the action scenes that I really, really wanted, and every trailer reaction you've ever heard us talk about, it is exactly what I wanted from it. And not only that, they escalatingly get bigger and bigger, and like they get really big without getting too specific. Every action scene that you saw teased in the trailer is even 10 times cooler in the actual film itself. There were times where I couldn't even tell, like, wait a minute, this tracking shot that we're seeing, is this CGI or is this practical? Because it looks like real stunt work for so much of the crazy stuff. Like the fight scenes felt like a combination of like Yuan Wu Ping from like The Matrix or Crouching Tiger meets Jackie Chan's fighting style. It was excellent. Simu Liu, charismatic as hell.
Absolutely.
Really great. Awkwafina, really, and the whole cast is really good. Everyone's really good in this movie. But my favorite out of the whole cast has to have been Tony Leung as the Mandarin in the movie. He brought such pathos to the role, and every time he was on screen, I thought he stole the show. The themes explored with him are some of the best. There's some amazing visual effects in here. I do think that in the way how an anime can sometimes be so heavy on dialogue with world building and exposition, it can feel a little bit bombastic with that. Sometimes I was craving more scenes that have more of like just the emotional nuance of characters. It seemed like it was so focused on world building for a large chunk of it. There wasn't ever a scene entirely that I didn't like. There were chunks throughout where I was like, I would find myself just craving a little bit more just character-based stuff instead of just world building stuff. At the same time, when you really view it like a live action anime, you're like, but it's like a live action anime, you know? Yeah. You got the flashbacks in there, you got this insane world building. Some stuff feels super easy, barely an inconvenience, but for the most part, it really is a very entertaining film. The last half gives you some real dark, haunting stuff without getting specifically into it. What can you tease that you could possibly say is a little bit of a qualm that you had?
There's a certain element of CGI spectacle that when you're watching so many elements collide that you know are CGI, and they're huge and they're breathtaking and they're cacophonous, it starts to become a little bit like having too much candy.
That's what it was. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Just to interrupt you really quick to say that. Good, I think it was like towards the last half hour, at least, without getting specific, was I think you're doing a little too much now.
Yeah, like it gets so big, and it's like the movie has an epic quality about it, and that's another thing I was hoping for, is it does feel hewn like an epic, like, you know, a Crouching Tiger, but also with some elements of, you know, like a Lord of the Rings style epic as well. I mean, you've seen in some of the trailers, like, you know, there are armies, you know, at play and whatnot, you know, there are villages, you know, warring, and so like the stuff that's really tangible, the action that plays closest to the ground is my favorite favorite stuff. The things that go out into CG, I will say, like, you know, the big spectacle candy-coated stuff is really cool. And I think that even the things I would gripe about, I really like in isolation. It's just, they affect the main core elements of the story and the plot and the characters in a way that I think could have been handled slightly differently and made more impactful.
And also, I gotta say, a lot of what we thought the plot would be is not the plot of this movie. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
That was a nice surprise.
That was a nice surprise. There's a lot of things I was like, this isn't at all what I thought the plot would actually be. And also, I'll say, like, the music in this movie was great. From, like, who is the musical artist that did it? The one that was teasing the trailers recently for the Rise Up trailer. I forget it. Here's his name on screen. Also, like, just the cinematic score of it and the cinematography was excellent too. It really does feel different. Like, of course you have your MCU tie-ins, absolutely, but for the most part I'm like, this feels like I'm just watching a Hong Kong fantasy flick along the lines of a hero. Really quick, look, we have this guy holding the camera. I'm probably gonna put him in the thumbnail, but we just gotta get him in here. We just gotta get him.
Jump in.
Warren, Cosmic Wonder, made it out to California just to come to the premiere. What are your honest thoughts on the movie, buddy?
I loved it, and I've come down from that. I'm at the premiere, so I loved it no matter what. I truly did love this movie. I had a few qualms like they had, but I really truly love this movie. I think it's very different from Marvel. Kind of reminds me of what they did for Black Panther. Like, it wasn't in the norm, especially like with the music, with the cinematography. Like, it was all visually beautiful. Like, I loved how it looked visually. I loved pretty much each scene. And the kung fu, which I was worried about, is there. I was worried it wasn't going to be there. It was going to be more Marvel-esque than it was going to be, you know, like a kung fu movie. That's not the case. I think the action was fantastic. I'm the same with Greg. Some of the scenes I'm like, did he do that? Or was that CGI? I don't actually, was that a stunt double or was that actually
It's got to be a combination of both.
Right, yeah. I was just kind of like, wow, that was fantastic. Like, literally blown away with the movie. I personally would give it like a 9 out of 10. Just that qualm about the ending. But, I mean, I don't know if you want me to say this, mid-credit scene will blow your mind, and the post-credit scene's really cool too.
Those are some engaging post-credit, mid-credit. There's two you got to stick around for.
You really got to stick around.
But no, those are really engaging.
Yeah, they were insane.
And there were other characters in here that I thought I wasn't expecting to love as much, like the sister.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm in love with her.
Yeah, she was great. She was amazing.
Awkwafina's amazing. Michelle Yeoh, obviously fantastic. Everybody was really.
But I will say, like, within every qualm, even with some stuff that we were kind of being specific about, because we can't be specific, even within some of those qualms, there were still some great moments in there that really had us swept up. I think John would attest to the same thing.
Yeah, it was overall, I loved it. I think a lot of people are going to love it because it is very different. It ties into everything else without making it about that.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's an exciting film. It is. And I think there were plenty of times where the whole crowd was just like,
oh yeah, just I mean, there's so much clapping.
It got us out of that.
There was a lot of clapping. There actually was a lot of
clapping.
Like
the first real like fight scene with Shang-Chi, like with Shang-Chi was like, whoa, I can't believe they're doing this. Yeah, this is so awesome. It was thoroughly satisfying. Sorry guys, had a weird cut there, but look, all three of us are in frame right now. Thank you guys for watching. I do recommend go watch this movie. Don't wait for it to go on Disney Plus. Actually go watch this movie in the theaters if you're able to, and if you're comfortable to, please go and do it. Subscribe, click that bell. Follow this guy. He's gonna have breakdowns coming for this movie, and we might react to some stuff from his, you know. All right, we'll see you guys.